Check, check. Yeah? Okay.
Hello. Oh, yeah.
Misschien kan je vragen op die foto kan maken.
Yeah. Come, please.
Yeah, please come closer.
We go with the slide back. I'll still
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, that's it.
It's a live stream? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, shall we start, Aisha?
Yes. Welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are happy to see you all here. A lot of new faces, but also some familiar faces. So today we will present about our journey. 1.5 years ago, we went on a 8,000 kilometers journey in which we cycled from farm to farm to visit regenerative farmers, more specifically, and in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And today we want to take you on this journey with us. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Aisha Hassan. I'm a political scientist with a research interest in food governance.
Hi, I'm Lucas Paltinavichus. I'm a bio-based scientist with a focus on agribusiness. So when I first met Aisha, which was 4 years ago back in the Netherlands at Wageningen University in Research, I remember very vividly then that she kind of shocked me, intrigued me, but also let me a little bit confused, because she introduced me that one day she would love to cycle um, from Cairo to Cape Town on a bicycle. And I was like, this is even possible? How do you do that? Can you travel across the globe on two wheels? How does that work? And so the seed of curiosity was planted, but it remained dormant until we graduated from university. Then we sat down once again to discuss what are the causes that really matters to us, and then we asked ourselves three essential questions that later became the core of Cycle to Farm's journey. So in the next 30 minutes, we would like to share those three questions. How did we answer them ourselves? And then we would like to ask you to reflect on those questions briefly. And then we hope that it can become part of your own active advocacy campaign. So we would love that this will, the little seed of curiosity in your lives as well. Okay, so next slide, please. Oh, oh. So the very first question that kept us awake at night was, what kind of impact we want to create on this planet. And so we learned a lot about the climate change, about the food system challenges, and I think this is a picture that illustrates two very radical spots, right? A bit black and white. So where do we see ourselves in the future? Where do we, in what kind of future we want to be living ourselves? So we wanted to learn the practical solutions for the food system for the food system challenges in this on this journey. But we knew that the solutions lay in how we grow our food, how we treat our soil, what we eat, and most importantly, how we communicate with each other. So with this project, we wanted to visit the regenerative agriculture farmers, learn from them, hear their stories, give voice to the farmers, and most importantly, inspire more people to follow their journey, to follow their example. Next slide.
Next slide. So how do we then give voice to these farmers, right? With our project, it was through active advocacy. And what do we mean with active advocacy? To us, it means going beyond just sharing the benefits of regenerative agriculture, but by also bridging different stakeholders. For us, it was important that we bridge the gap between policymakers on the one hand and regenerative farmers on the other hand. So that's why we invited these policymakers to the farms with us. And this is a more recent campaign in Lithuania, where we cycled with the European Commissioner for Environment and Oceans, Virginijus Sinkevičius, who's also working on the European Green Deal, to cycle with us for 50 kilometers to 2 farms in Lithuania. And during this journey, you could firsthand see the practices that these farmers were adapting, and also um, discuss what are the challenges for these farmers. So these, especially in the first 5 years, the farmers have a lot of struggles in creating an ecosystem that functions immediately right away. They take a lot of risk by converting from conventional farming to regenerative farming. So that's exactly the moment that is crucial for them to get that support, especially from a policy level. So this was a great example, and but we have seen many other examples. Next slide, please. Sorry. Um, we have seen many other active advocates, of course, some like us cycling the world to shed light on a certain aspect, biking for biodiversity, shedding light on biodiversity around the world, active sharing the stories of conservationists who are tackling the issue of biodiversity loss all around the world. So sharing their stories, but also actively engaging with the communities that are working on this topic. But we have also a friend who have been walking, hiking 4,000 kilometers to shed light on why it's important to plant forests around the world. But also the farmers that we have visited are active advocates because they are not just farming and practicing regenerative agriculture, but they're also advocating, sharing the knowledge with the people that visit their farms. And that's extremely important. An example is Jordan. In Jordan, we visited a farm and restaurant. It's called the Kharoub Farm. And here, Rakan and Abdu are working on regenerative agriculture, advocating for it by inviting people to their farms, giving them tours about how regenerative agriculture looks like in practice, but also people can get their hands dirty and see what kind of input it takes to regenerate land. And during this time, we also the visitors are invited to the restaurant to actually eat the regenerative food and experience what it means. And it doesn't stop there. The food that is being wasted in the restaurant goes back to the farm again. It's being composted and being used in the soil. So it's extremely holistic approach that they are taking, and the farmers are active advocates in our meaning. So in our view, sorry. Next slide, sir.
Yeah, to make it a little bit more interactive, we made these three questions that I mentioned in the beginning. So that's what we would like you to reflect during this conversation, that later on you could share with us how you would, that would be the part of your own active advocacy campaign. So that will keep all of us awake, huh?
Also for Juliet.
Sorry. Well, we have more. Okay, so yeah. So what is regenerative agriculture, or what does it mean? How does it look like in practice? That was kind of the one of the core questions to us when we started learning and getting deeper into the food system kind of challenges and how to solve it. And at that time, we were reading, the research. Yeah, we were reading the scientific papers. What does that mean? We were reading NGO statements. We were trying to understand what are the businesses saying about it. But it was always slightly altered. It was kind of, I don't know. It was creating a little bit of a fog and a mist in our mind. We just wanted to understand how does it look in practice. What are those practices? How we can implement them? How we can learn more from it. So, but instead of me trying to explain what does it mean, let's watch a video from our journey, and that will let it talk for itself. Yeah. Next slide. One more slide.
No, this is it.
This is from Jordan. I think we will need some sound. Can we turn on the sound? One more slide. Just sound. Can you turn on the sound? One more slide. Sound.
cultural farmers and explore the profound meaning of regenerative agriculture in their lives. Through this video, we share and celebrate the relentless efforts of individuals who have taken matters into their So as you have seen, there are three things very important for regenerative agriculture. It's the environmental, the economical, and the social aspects. And all these farmers on this. And how do they do that? Well, through several things, through several practices. But all these practices are focused on the principle of balancing out, balancing out the health and the well-being of an ecosystem, the health and the well-being of us humans on this planet. And of course, many of you might already know about these practices, about regenerative agriculture, such as cover cropping, composting, no tillage, minimum tillage, integrating food forests, you name it, a lot of practices. But what we have seen is that it's also very important aspect is how they include communities. Integration of communities is extremely important because it's the responsibility of regenerating the earth. It's the responsibility of us all, right? Not of one person alone. So if you work alone, then it's not going to work. And that's also the words of a Kenyan farmer that we visited. He said, if these three aspects are not met, and if the social aspect is not seen as important as the environmental aspect or the economic aspect, then you can close your farm and you can live in the city, because it's not going to work. So also the economic aspect, very important. We get this question a lot. Is it scalable? Is it profitable? Yes, it is. But you have to work hard for it. It's not overnight. It takes a long time to build the ecosystem like this, and we need all stakeholders to be involved. Next slide, please. So now we come, since we have been talking quite a lot about regenerative agriculture and the practices and a bit about the principles, we also want you to think about your idea about active advocacy and what kind of impact you would like to leave in this world by answering these three questions. Don't feel like we just want to make it interactive. So if anyone has an idea that you would like to share, please, the floor is yours. And you can give the microphone.
My name is Dalia. I'm from Egypt. I'm working at Seacom Group uh, with Egyptian biodynamic agriculture. We are already working in this direction of organic agriculture, and we are inviting the community around us to do like us, to upscale our target. We have given training to 2,000 farmers uh, to convert from conventional to organic, and now we are upscaling for 40,000 farmers. The reward from organic agriculture, there are carbon credits that are being sold for the benefit for the farmers so that they can implement solar energy instead of diesel energy, and their income would be more instead of polluting the environment. That is our impact here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and Sekum is actually one of the farms that we visited, so we have seen the impact that you have been doing. Great. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jamie Davenport. I'm a master's student at Indiana University. So when it comes to what impact I'd like to make in this world, I'm still kind of figuring that out, especially because I'm just about to graduate and enter the real world, become like a full person. And so I'm still trying to figure that out. But my cause is definitely that I'm interested in promoting things like regenerative agriculture and agroecology, both for like the climate smart aspect of it and to actually support communities and to try to scale that up for food security and food sovereignty. And I'm especially interested in Africa and trying to promote that there, mostly just because I've spent time there and I have some hands-on experience. And so then how I plan to support it is just trying to get involved with organizations who do that hands-on work and try to do more of the capacity building and investment in those communities. But I'm still trying to figure out what that direction exactly looks like moving forward.
Well, it's a great place to figure out those questions, right? And to meet more people. Would you like to share some of your vision?
Thanks. I'm Romano. I work for Crop Life. When I listen particularly to your farmer of from the Netherlands, I think he was capturing extremely well the essence of all this. Because first of all, he was saying this is the farming activity. This is not nature. So we need to make a profit because sustainability at the end costs money. And this was the first reflection that really, I think, makes sense for my vision of the impacts we can have in the world. And also, I mean, what you said about the fact that regenerative agriculture is really about environmental outcomes, productivity outcomes for food security, and livelihoods of rural communities. What for me is important, it probably was not coming across clearly in your messages, is also that this is a very holistic approach where we also need to give the opportunity to farmers, given their local conditions, to choose what are the technologies, what are the practices, and what are the capacity building opportunities, the knowledge sharing opportunities. Probably you touched a little bit about this when you were talking about the communities that are involved in sharing also knowledge about agriculture. And the three elements for me are very important. My vision of the world is that if we can make sure that these three elements are present in whatever regenerative agriculture definition a country is choosing, then I mean we can be successful. We can really define something that is outcome based, and so that is helping to solve some of the challenges that we are facing in the world.
Thank you for your view, and it's important to include all kinds of perspectives, and that's what we really believe in. We can't just live in our own bubble and forget about the world that we live in, right? Technology is part of it. We need to adapt it, but we also need to understand the context that we are working on, right? So that's why no tillage doesn't work not for everyone, right? Some farmers do minimum tillage. Secam has also a lot of technology that you guys use, so maybe you can also talk with them because they're all have a very large scale farm in the middle of the desert in Egypt. It's an extremely interesting case. So thank you for sharing that with us.
My name is Yusuf Sam, and I'm managing the Egyptian Biodynamic Association. In Cairo, we have some branches in the country. We are active in all governorates in Egypt, and we have currently around 5,000 farming members working on biodynamic agriculture with them. And this is also my course. I committed myself to follow this work. Myself, I have not an agriculture background, but I grew up on a biodynamic farm in Germany. And then I studied sustainable business. And now what I'm trying to do is to bring those sectors together, because in the end, we need to have a business case for farmers who transfer from conventional agriculture to regenerative, organic, or biodynamic agriculture, whatever we call it. I think that it's important that we get away from conventional synthetic-based agriculture to a more sustainable one. Of course, the challenge that we see is with the regenerative movement that it's not defined, and now Bayer and Syngenta claim to make regenerative agriculture. That's a little bit dangerous. That's why we still focus on the biodynamic term that is quite clearly and strictly described. And yeah, as Dalia mentioned, we are working together with SECAM and the initiative on a vision to scale to 40,000 and then until 2030 to 250,000 farmers. Because we see also even the conventional farmers, the yields are getting less, the profitability is getting lower, and so on. So there's a lot of challenges for conventional farmers these days around the globe. So we see the climate crisis hitting, especially also on those farms. We see that our farms, the biodynamic regenerative farms, are very resilient to these outer challenges. So I hope I can follow my course here and be active further more in Egypt.
Yeah, you can hand it over. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Yula Ellis, and I'm working with Justus and Dalia also in the Egyptian Biodynamic Association. And I think for me, my cause kind of shifted in recent years from advocating more about, climate change and mitigating climate change towards actually working on a solution, and actually working on mitigating climate change. And I think where I'm right now, working in the Egyptian Biodynamic Association, is a great place for that, since agriculture is just one of the biggest levers for mitigating climate change. And as you also said, targeting smallholder farmers especially, and like crediting them for their environmental service, I think is an amazing way of working towards a more sustainable future. So I think this is what my cause is kind of right now.
Thank you for sharing. Yes.
Sorry, guys, I'm just coming
Yes.
in. I just want to share because I just follow what he was talking about. My name is Mwatima Juma. I'm the board chair for Practical Permaculture Institute in Zanzibar. Like him, I really worried about the regenerative. It gets a lot of support and money, but it sways us out of the issue. The bigger elephant we know is the chemicals that we are using on the ground. And if within the regenerative agroecology, they're not talking about don't use, that is a dangerous thing. And we see, I have my own case example when we were in the meeting of agroecology in Uganda, and we went to visit a farm which was called, this is the best example of regenerative. And as soon as we get there, the smell of the chemical just hit us into the face, and I was like, oh my God, what is going on?
Yeah.
So we see the capture, we see people who are still there. Where will they be? Who will be now conventional? In our situations, we really don't have the real conventional. The real conventionals are in the West, where they get their soil tested and they know how much they should put in and at what time and what to spray. In our case, we are in between. We are neither conventional nor organic. So, but the best place for us is to move toward that organic because it's the minimum input and people can still work around their own environment to build that one up. So that's a bit of a push around that one. And also, we don't want to lose the market value, the small market value that the smallholder can define themselves, be it a participatory guarantee system and get your organic mark and be able to sell in your local market, or be it third-party certification and be able to sell in the outside market. This is an opportunity that does not cost them much, but then they can have a leverage of getting some income from engaging into that one. If they go to regenerative, they don't know what they're selling from that. Where is the market for regenerative? What are you selling? Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Some of them that have been pushed too much into monoculture, we know them, and it is a small percent who have their 50 hectares or 10 hectares all grown into a monoculture maize or monoculture wheat. But there are still those ones who still have a lot of plants planted in between there as a diversity of what they are producing. So this we need to try to see how we can maintain it without losing it. The concept of regenerative is the best concept. And that's why it can fit in ELDIS. It can be regenerative permaculture, it can be regenerative organic, it talks about regenerative biodynamic. So we should not focus it as a separate entity, and then we end up losing because the multinational companies, we are killing their business.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be ready to let us kill their business. And we know that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you said it very well. We don't want to scare people, right? I feel like with these definitions that we focus on, we also create restrictions, right? So we limit farmers in adapting these practices, and we just don't want to say, okay, yes, you are this or that. Every context is different. So I'm very happy that you shared that. Yeah. Yeah.
Next slide.
Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, so we already came to the end. Thank you so much for sharing your impact area and your mission. I wanted to conclude with the quote that we that we heard from an Austrian farmer that we visited. It's he said, "Don't think in problems, think in solutions," and that's really the mission of Cycle to Farms. We really want to focus on people putting the energy in the solutions that are out there, and that means that we have to engage in conversations with each other, integrate the communities, and also discuss how can we best move forward. um, Regenerative agriculture is nothing new. It's something that has been there for a long time. Communities all over the world have been doing these practices, but they were not calling it regenerative because the term itself is new. So I think if that's something that we really have to remember, that we don't make these distinctions based on the term, and that we focus more on the principles and the why of people. Why are they doing it, right? So that's why we decided to ask the farmers, why are you regenerate? What does it mean? What are you doing? What new world are you building? New or old, or however you want to call it. So thank you very much for joining us, and we want to encourage you to take this quote in your head and work on your own impact area. Thank you so much.
Next slide.